Good afternoon, everyone. Of course, my name is Zenzi Sewa and I am Spiritual Infinity. And today my guest is Penelope Holt. She is author, she is spiritual teacher, advertising executive, wife, mother, sister, friend, like all of us, carrying so many hats. We're humans going through our life. And today, Penelope is going to share with us her journey, her journey to connecting to her spirituality, what happened in her life, how she uses it, and how she's sharing it with others. So without much ado, hello, Penelope.
Hello, Zenzi. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for saying, yes, I'll come and talk. And thank you for coming to share and in advance your journey.
Well, I live in New York, 50 miles north of Manhattan now, but way back through the mists of time, I was born in Yorkshire.
Oh,
yeah.
An England
yeah, a northern lass. What is it they say? I'm British, English by birth, but Yorkshire by the grace of God. And it never leaves you. You know, I've been away for decades now, but those early years really shape you. And so I was the first, back when I went to university, only about 6% of working class kids went. You know, I grew up in a family that were factory workers and mill workers and coal miners and construction. Great people, you know, northern sense of humor, great community.
Very friendly.
Very friendly, awful one, plain spoken.
Yes,
mother used to say not as plain spoken as Yorkshire folk. But that, you know, I wanted a different path. I was the baby of the family and everybody wanted me to go to university. So I did, but I went to York and it was alienating to go from, you know, from my home. And then after university, I went to London. I was telling you, Zenzi, I went to Kilburn and slept on a mattress in a bedsit. And that was even more alienating. I mean, I was just completely alone there trying to make my way. And I remember one of the most painful moments I had was sitting in Covent Garden with everybody walking past me. It was after work. I'd gotten my first job, which was funny because I have a kind of numbers dyslexia. I always transpose. And I was the receptionist back when you used to have to write like the little notes. And I got everybody's messages wrong. And they came and they were like, she's got to go. But I was trying to be a writer and a playwright, and it was a TV production company. I was really there to try and get my foot in the door, but I couldn't even get the phone messages right. But they put me on reading scripts and summarizing the scripts. So, but I remember sitting in Kilburn. I'd no friends. I'd just gotten there and watching everybody around me. You know, sometimes when you're in a crowd, it's you feel the loneliest.
Yes.
And I just remember having this deep, just this anguish, just feeling really, really alone and not tethered to anything. I followed a boyfriend to California, wound up in California, and then made my way. We broke up. I made my way to New York again alone. I only knew one person, and then being alone in Manhattan in a big city was, you know, I was like Ruth, and they say in the Bible, right? Ruth crying amid the alien corn. So, you know, a lot of my early experience was forged by that sense of being vulnerable and being alone in cities that can be predatory.
Yes.
So, you know, and just, you know, nature of growing up poor, and you know, I've got the same story as a lot of people. Life's not easy we know, Sensi, life is not easy for anybody. And you know, you either run away from it. You either run away from your pain, or you hide in addictions, or you become a zombie, or you just sit in front of the television, or you try and get spiritual tools to deal with the pain that you're in.
Let me just stop you there a moment. What I'd like to ask you is, because I'm hearing I'm hearing a lot of courage, because you got up, you left, and it does when you're living in a family and you've got brothers and sisters and you're living in one place and you leave on your own to come to another place, London, as you did, and then you left from London to go to America on your own again. What made you get up? And I mean, being in England, from north to London, it's been in England, but what drove you to leave England to go to the Americas?
Well, I think once I got a taste for novelty, which was going to university, and seeing that there was a bigger world out there. It's the hero's journey. You know, your spiritual journey is that you're called to adventure and danger.
Okay.
I also think so you don't understand some of the unconscious drivers. So I was the youngest of 4. My brother was 15 years older. And they'd all gotten married young back then. You know, they got married young, 16, 17, pregnant and all that.
Yes.
My dad had been in the war as a young sailor, like 17, and he loved it. He was in the Mediterranean. And when he got a taste of travel and adventure and being on a ship, and when he came back to Bradford and he was faced with going down a coal mine or going in a factory, sort of, you know, I think it sort of wounded his spirit a little bit. And then you have that intergenerational poverty, you know, when people were down mines and factories. So I got a sense from the unconsciously around me that do something different. You do something different. So I always felt that my role was to sort of break the mold a little bit. And then once I started venturing into, I was very, you know, nerdy, and I got a scholarship to a Catholic school. You know, I just started treading a different path. But the downside was, in fact, I had a recurring dream. I still have it, Sensi, that I would dream that I was walking along the edge of at sunrise, sun just coming up, walking along the edge of the sea. But to the right of me was the desert. And I knew that I was going to have to, you know, it's the spiritual wilderness, the desert is very symbolic. And I knew I wanted to hug the water. You know, it was familiar. But I knew I was going to have to leave this desert. And I've had that dream, not so much these days, but I bet I had that dream for 25 years, just on and off. So it was that feeling of unconsciously, you know, that the danger of you wanting to hug what's familiar, but you know that you really won't grow unless you embrace the challenges.
Embrace the unfamiliar.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you're in America now, and what's happened there?
Well, I was trying to be a playwright, but I was sleeping on couch surfing and just couldn't make any money. And so an actress that I was working with was doing freelance PR work. So I got into PR, you know, as a writer and pitching, because I had an English accent. I could sort of break through to get people interviews.
American English accent.
Yeah, and then I got into advertising, and then I wanted to be a writer. So if you want to write, you've got to write every day. So I thought, even if I have to write the words on the back of ketchup balls, you know, at least I'll be practicing my craft. I got into writing, ghostwriting, co-writing books, advertising copy, press release, you name it, articles, speeches, you name it. I just wrote every day. And then eventually, you know, as I got older and more stable in my career and my kids grew, I started writing novels and creative fiction. And, you know, my latest book, which we can talk about later, only because The Angel Scroll is about a woman who's bereaved. She's a painter. She has spiritual, supernatural experiences, which people often do when they're deep, deep in grief. It's like the veil pulls away.
They do.
She started to have dreams. She paints this miraculous painting, and it turns out that it's one of 3 paintings that are prophesied by the Angel Scroll, that the 3 paintings will be a new visual gospel. Because like you and I were saying, words can be manipulative, but when you have a direct experience, like you look at beautiful art, or you stand in nature, or at the top of a mountain, it's heart opening. It's a direct experience. And so that novel, The Angel Scroll, it's got all of she goes and speaks to she goes around the world looking for these paintings, and she meets different spiritual masters, because that's what kind of happened to me. I started to get into a lot of pain, as most people do. And because life's hard for everyone. And I said to a friend once, I feel like drilling a hole in the top of my head and climbing out. I just want to get out of my head. But since I couldn't climb out of my own skull, I figured I would just start wrestling with what was in there. And then, so I looked into, you know, I was in Catholic school. which the liturgy of the Mass, the transcendent nature of religion is still really important to me. And then I looked into Buddhism and into other spiritual technologies. I particularly liked Buddhism from as a mind training. I mean, many people become Buddhists. They keep their own religion, but they like it because of the psychology and the mind training. So my spiritual journey is like everybody else. It's just acquiring more and more tools to make life better, to be happier, to be optimistic, to be to have gratitude. You know, what are these spiritual practices? I'm starting with gratitude. If nothing else, just say, I'm glad I've got 2 legs. I'm glad I've got 2 arms. I'm glad I can see. My dad was blinded in a car accident. He had very tragic. And I think of him often, you know, stumbling around in the dark. And so I think one of the things I do is, and I know it can sound babyish, but if you really do just start counting your blessings, you start to feel a shift. You feel yourself coming out of that pessimism and that pain, and understanding yourself relative to everyone else. Yes, look to your right. Someone may be doing better than you. They may be thinner or fatter or richer or poorer. But if you look to the other side, there are people in this world who are doing much worse. In countries or cultures where there is no therapeutic framework, they are just stuck in hell, and there is no way for them to get out. And so I think understanding your place in the world and where you are comparatively, I think in the West, you know, with all the freedoms that we have, as you know, as we can all complain about it, but at least there are some tools that we can use to
help ourselves.
Yeah.
So going to America and not straight away being able to write your novels and getting into and connecting with this actress, how did it flow from there?
Well, I always intended to go home, but then I wound up. I wound up meeting my husband, and once you have children, it's, you know, you're kind of rooted because it's their homeland. And it takes about 10 years if you live in a different country to really adjust, because you play this game where you say, oh, it's better in England, I want to go home. And then you go home and you visit and you enjoy it, but you also see, you know, alternatives exclude. If you can't have this and have that, you can't have that and have this. And so I would do that for years. And I would, sadly, my parents, I would always go home and visit family, which I loved. And but my sister died during the COVID, and so that was really like my last main tie. I've got nephews and nieces there, but they come and visit me now. So I feel sad about that, because as you get older, I think expats know this. You long for your own bird song. You know, you long for an English garden and the bird song of England. It's just, you just kind of return. It's the hero's journey. You know, you go back to what is familiar with a new appreciation.
To your origins, and with new appreciation, because you have been away for so long. You've got a family, you've had children. How many children do you have?
2, girl and boy.
And you've traveled that road. And did you materialize your dream of being a playwright, or have you been able to do that?
Yeah, small success. In university, I was at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and I had a play at York Playhouse, and then I was a playwright in residence in New York at the American Folk Theatre, but nothing big. I mean, it was very hard, but I started, you know, if you really, really want to do something, you may have a windy path, but you get there in the end. I bet you can, Sensi, look back on your life, and sometimes it looks like you weren't on the path, but you always were. And things come into your life. I mean, when you look back at the people that come into your life at just the right moment, or the thing that happens that keep you on course. So I started writing books. You know, I've published books. I've had some success publishing books, but I've been divided. You know, I've had career success and I've enjoyed it, but I wouldn't have given up being a daughter, you know, looking after my parents, helping to look after my parents, a mother, a wife, a friend. I've run agencies and been a business owner. So, you know, some people are single-mindedly, they go after what they want, but you know, those other roles were
Yes.
important to me. That's why I said when you introduced me, I wouldn't have missed being, I love my sister with all my heart. I wouldn't have missed that close relationship. So on balance, I'm very happy with how it turned out.
But in that journey, what made you connect to your spirituality? I know you said part way that you looked at Buddhism, you're a Catholic and you like the way Buddhism with the mind control, but what really made you turn? Because we're going to speak, you have mentioned it about your book, and that's very important, but what was that journey that actually made you say, it's not enough what I'm feeling, I need more, and made you turn to your spirituality?
Pain. And also when I first came to America, you go to a very different culture. And even though America's like England in many ways, there are cultural differences, and you see different things, and then it makes you start to think, what's real? You know, what's true? Who's right? And because we all get conditioned in our, you know, we're all products of our environment, right?
Yes.
And then when you bust out of your environment and you travel the world and you see different people doing different things with different beliefs, you sort of like, what do I really believe, right? And it can be a bit destabilizing because you want to feel, you want to be convinced that you're right. I mean, you're standing in your truth, but you know, you want to know that you think the right things and you do the right things and you have the right perspective. So, and I think I was just, you know, when I was 4 years old, my mother started a little pie and pea supper cafe for when the pubs had closed, you know, and it was on a main road, and next to it was this little wooden hut, the Salvation Army. And my mum said that when I was like 4, we were walking past it, and I said, I want to go there, take me there. And I used to see you know, they used to wear the uniforms back in those days, the big bonnets and the tambourine.
The bonnet trimmed in red.
Yeah.
Piped in red.
They come around the pubs, you know, getting the, and I could hear them singing, bringing in the corn.
Yes.
And and walking past churches, there was always just that little voice that I wanted to go. I was curious. So, you know, Zenzi, I think we're born with a spiritual, many things influence us, but I think sometimes we're born to do things.
Yes.
Spiritual perspective.
That's right.
And I've always just wanted, like a moth to a flame, I've always been drawn to, part of what I do in the novel is, like you, I'm always interested in how people choose a God of their understanding. You know, Pascal, the philosopher, said there is a God-sized hole in everybody's heart.
Yes.
And people who are spiritual and walk a spiritual path, I always like to ask them, like you, why, you know, how did you come to believe? What do you believe? And how did you come to believe, you know, in these spiritual principles that we share, the perennial wisdom of do unto your neighbor as you do unto yourself. Now, I'm a Christian, you know, I consider myself largely Christian, and Jesus said, I leave you with 2 commandments: love God and love one another.
Yes.
And that's
the most important, believe it or not, as you say it, love God and love one another.
And yet we can't seem to do it, can we?
Can't. It's there, so straightforward.
So easy.
So easy. Well,
not complicated, too simple.
Not complicated, very easy, very simple, and yet so difficult.
Yeah.
And it's those 2 words, very simple and yet so difficult. If it's simple, how can it be difficult?
Yeah. In the book, I say so simple, but seemingly impossible.
Yes. Yeah. So it's through your journey in your life and through the pains you suffered, was it leaving home, situations in your own personal life, whatever, that really pushed you to start seeking?
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
mean, it was always there, as you said, from a little child, but because it was there, it was as though there was a voice. From what I'm hearing from you, you then turned to that to try and find answers.
yeah, I think that I remember many times in my life where I've cried out to God because I've felt overwhelmed by my circumstances, outward circumstances, inner feelings. And I think that there's so much relief in just crying out. Now, some people are atheists and they call it simplistic and they're entitled to that point of view, but I don't agree with it, because whenever I've cried out, there's an answer has come. And
Yes.
you and I were talking before we began
Yes.
about the Babel, Tower of Babel of voices.
Yes.
And I think what's happening in the world, Senzi, and I think the podcast that you do is symbolic of this, is people want to transcend the noise.
That's right.
People are calling out to a higher power, to a God, to say, I am so confused. I don't know where to turn or who to believe.
Yes.
That you start to look for some divine inspiration. You start to listen to that still small voice of conscience.
Just,
and then you start to people come, you meet people like you and me, and then you resonate with each other, that same vibration. And then that kind of reinforces that you should keep listening, and looking for the right people to listen to.
You're so right, because also in this time, and I've said this before, that if you've never tasted a strawberry, you can't yearn for a strawberry.
Yeah.
And if you've never yearned for coffee, or if you never tasted coffee, you cannot yearn for coffee.
Yeah.
So you can only yearn for what you know. As much as it's been buried,
Yeah.
there is something inside that makes you want that thing. And we're now in a time of humanity where, as you said, we were talking about, people are looking inwards because it was always there in the first place, but it's been buried, it's been masked, we've been blinded, we've been made to be deaf, we've been told so much other things that's led us over there instead of leaving us here and upwards. But the reason why we are now standing up and going inwards, it is because it was always there anyway, and now we've been pressured to listen,
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah.
And
I love what you said. I love what you said about the strawberry. It's absolutely, that's why they describe faith as the promise of things hoped for and the evidence of things unseen. It's like if you long for something that tastes delicious and sweet, but you've never had a strawberry, right? You hope that you'll find something that tastes
delicious and sweet, and that and you're just yearning for delicious and sweet. But you yearn for it because you've known delicious and sweet sometime in the past. Sometime you forgot, but it's there and it's calling you.
Yeah.
And this is what is happening. Man is now looking around, and it's come to a critical point where we're saying, no, 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 this is not us. No, 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 this is not what I like. It's pushed that thing so much. It's rebelling. It's now pushing. And and we need to let it out. We need to listen.
And we have to teach. You have to teach yourself how to listen, to become acquainted.
Yes.
And the reason I like Buddhist technology, I call it like a spiritual technology, is because the meditation, first of you learn to quiet your mind, shamatha, and then you do vipassana, which is you learn to look at what your thoughts and feelings are.
Yes.
And to kind of create a space. And even in therapy, one of the things that helps is people don't, when I know this myself, I've spent months at a time being in a state of acute anxiety, but not even knowing that I was anxious.
Yeah.
Because the thoughts and the feelings are coming so fast. But if you actually stop and pause and witness yourself, you can oh, I'm anxious. Oh, I feel comfortable. Oh, I feel apprehensive. Oh, it just, and to get to that deep calling
Yes.
that you're talking about, you've got to get through all of this mental and emotional garbage too.
Yes. And it's not easy.
No.
But mankind is beginning, and so many of us are saying everything is within. Don't look outside. The energy is all around us. It's in everything.
Yeah.
But it's in you.
Yeah.
And when you can connect with you and recognize it within you, you will automatically start to connect outwardly.
Yeah. And you will start to, part of what I cover in the book is there's a concept called high agency. And agency just means that you take good actions for yourself. You become aware that, like you said, Zenzi, that you're a co-creator of your own life.
That's right.
So instead of being pulled around by trends or received opinions that people give you. So in the book, Claire begins, because she is a painter and creative herself, but it's really about how when her husband dies young and she's bereaved and hopeless and lost, she's got to find that part of her that knows how to create a new life for herself.
Yes.
And very often that's where we hit a crisis point, a bankruptcy, a divorce, a loss. We can either sink and let life happen to us.
Yes.
Or we can find that creative power that says, I can shape my own thinking and my own feeling and my own actions, and I can start building a life for myself.
And it is to have that, for want of a better word, for want to have that courage to believe in yourself that it is possible and that you can do it. And it then, when you start to do it, you will start to, like a magnet, attract things around you that will help you along that journey of encouragement, and realize that what is it that you want? What makes you happy? Not what makes the neighbor or this one or that one, but what makes you happy. Because when we're happy and we do things, it spreads, and we do it so willingly, without effort. And that sunshine rays comes with that, and it affects everybody else, and we can have an effect on our own situation, and it comes.
Well, it's so hard with social media. I mean, I'm glad I really didn't. I can use social media as a tool, but I feel bad for the kids where, I'm supposed to have a body like this or teeth like that. Or I joke when I go back to England, everybody's got veneers, and I'm like, come on, people, we're English. We're supposed to have crooked teeth. This joke, but just that idea that you're always looking out for how to be sort of a facsimile of what you see out there, rather than finding your own inner original, authentic beauty.
Well, this is why I said we have been blinded, deafened, controlled to believe this is how it is. And we're living in a time now where we really need to say to people, no, you don't have to be a size 8 and skinny and looking good. Who tells you that? What? Because some other man somewhere is telling you that because they want that for themselves. That's nonsense.
No.
Beauty is everywhere. Be yourself. And we need to really stand up and reject those things and say, no, that's not good enough. We don't want that anymore. And we have to work really on our youth and our young people, because they are finding it so difficult. They're going through so much, because, as you say, they're looking at the TV, they're looking at the media, on all these things that we've been bombarded with, and it's to control us, to make us feel. And it's time we say, no, no, that's not us. That's not natural. That's not normal. I don't care.
My mum was old school, and if people listening, I had an old school mum, and she did two amazing, she left school when she was 14 to go and work in a woolen mill. And she had a very difficult life. But she was the sweetest. But she said 3 things really. The three most important things my mother taught me. She said, I brought you up to know right from wrong.
Uh-huh.
So she put me on the path of moral,
Yes.
of, at least if I can't always walk a good path, knowing when I've, messed it
Yes.
up.
Yes. Yes.
And this is something that I think mothers today need to understand. Your
Yes.
job as a parent is to teach your children resiliency.
Yes.
My mother used to, sometimes I call her from America. I didn't like to worry her, but Mom, I'm lonely. I'm scared. I don't know where to turn. I don't know what to do. And she used to say, you've the broad back. You can. She, even in situations where I felt I couldn't handle it, my mother always said, you got a broad back. You can do this. Which
you can shoulder anything.
You can, and it's like when little kids fall down and they look at you to see if they should cry.
Yeah.
And you say,
"Come on, it's okay.
All right, get up, you're okay." So it's more of that. And then the third thing she said to me, and I used to find it very hard, because when you're moving in different circles, you always want to present an image, and the irony is that when you try and project an image, you convey the exact opposite of it. But my mom used to say, just be yourself.
Yes, always.
And it takes, you start off being yourself, and then you get trained into trying to be somebody else.
Yes.
And then you spend what is left of your life trying to be yourself again. So you kind of come full circle,
Because we're so afraid to step out of the box and be ourselves. We want to fit in with everybody else, so we go with the flow. And we feel by standing out and we're going to be pinpointed or being looked different. And we don't want to look different. We want to be like everybody else. But what we don't understand, that everybody else is being blinded, hoodwinked. So it's like I'm in the blind, and we're just going like I don't know, like mice following the Pied Piper. And we need to realize, no, everybody else doesn't have the answer. And everybody else is going through the same thing, but you're lucky enough to stand up and be different. And it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
But because of the society we live in and the jobs we're going, and because we want to climb the ladder or do well, again, we're forced. We're forced to be as everybody, but we need to say no and find our way into something that really resonates to who we really are.
Yeah, I know it sounds corny, but people are, it's like fingerprints and snowflakes. Everyone is different. And
yes,
it is, someone once said to me, we're all trying to be better, or live up to something out there, like you said. And somebody once said, your job in this world is to find out who is the most authentic you, and to be that person in the world.
And that is really what we've come to this earth to do. And to be the most authentic you is actually to grow spiritually.
Yeah.
Because we are spiritual beings with a physical body having a human experience. And therefore, once we understand that, we are to grow spiritually, to be authentic, because in that everything opens up. And it's that added saying, man, know thyself.
Yeah.
And rather than man, it's humans, know thyself. So, Penelope, you've gone through this journey, and you've gone through pain, and you've come out, and now you've written books. Tell us about them, their stories, because it is a culmination of what you've gone through. And it's the spiritual side now that you went through, that you're writing now. Your books are about spirituality and taking, be it is it fiction, is it things you've gone through, is it something that you've seen, something that's downloaded that has guided you to do this?
Yeah, I think it was just my two loves converged. I loved writing and storytelling, and I'm fascinated by spiritual journeys. And I've written a lot in business, business boring books. Although I did write a book about business emotions at work, emotional intelligence at work. So how you have to be emotionally intelligent in the workplace too. But I co-wrote some biographies. So I co-wrote, Alan Bailey formed the Harlem Gospel Choir in New York, which is kind of world famous. And I met him down at B.B. King's club. And I wound up co-writing his biography, because he grew up in the civil rights. He grew up at a really fascinating time, and he was a wonderful man. He's dead now, God bless him. And I also wrote a book with a Holocaust survivor. He was 8 years old and was in 6 concentration camps. His dad died in the ghetto. His mother was sent to Treblinka to be gassed. So he had so both of those stories are about people that lived through turbulent times and pain. And so I didn't realize it, but that's what I was like curious, like, how did you survive? What were you feeling? What got you through? And, with Alan, it really was, it was a great believer in God and gospel, the gospel singing. And he helped a lot of really, really poor people in Harlem who had amazing voices. And it was sort of he had one woman who, her kids had been taken away from her. She was a heroin addict, and she had an amazing voice. And she said, she used to come and say, put me in the choir, put me in the choir. I've got a good voice. And he used to say, get straight and I'll put you in the choir. And she wound up getting straight, and she went in the choir, and she knocked your socks off toward the world. So I wrote those books. But then this recent novel, The Angel Scroll, it's fiction. It's like, I say it's the Da Vinci Code meets Eat, Pray, Love. It's like a spiritual session.
Eat, Pray, Love with the actress, great film.
Julia Roberts, was it? Yeah.
Julia Roberts, yes.
So it's like a hunt for a scavenger hunt around the world for spiritual artifacts to see if when they come together, there'll be a miracle. But it's also about the young widow's journey to go from deep despair and grief into these sort of spiritual awakening and these supernatural occurrences. So it's like a romance, spiritual mystery thriller. It's like a box of licorice, all sorts.
But it's about, but you've taken it from your own journey of spirituality, and as you said, you've read so many and listened to so many others, and bringing it into a form where people can look at it and identify with it.
Yeah.
And in fact, from what the story you're telling me, as much as you say it's fictional, is it fictional?
Well, I've smuggled my spiritual truths in, but sometimes people don't. You can disguise it as a rollicking good story rather than they wouldn't pull something off the shelf that was more spiritual in nature. And I think what I've learned in my life, this would be my bottom line. Again, my mother, she used to say to me, I'd get all angsty and, angry or annoyed, or it's not fair. And she'd say, Pen, think happy thoughts. And I used to say, Mother, that's stupid.
She was right.
As I've gotten older, there was a book I read once called You Can't Spare the Luxury of a Negative Thought. And I would say to people, negativity is one of our greatest enemies.
Yes.
And it is not Pollyanna to catch yourself being negative, telling yourself as catastrophizing, telling yourself a story about how you'll never get ahead and it's all terrible and it's not fair, and to catch yourself doing that. That's why you've got to witness, your own inner thinking and everything, and turn that around to what you're talking about is creativity in the universe is limitless. And when you tap into that creativity and your spirit of your own creative spirit that you were born with, which Zenzi, the sky's the limit.
The sky is the limit. And in fact, it's limitless, even beyond the sky. Because we say, the sky is it goes beyond, because when we really understand the power that we are, because we have been created by the creator, we carry the creator's DNA that made the multiverse, the universes, the galaxies, that is in us.
Yeah, and we are I like that. I mean, some people who are not particularly religious, and I try to kind of pitch my language to not, I believe in God, but I know some people are more agnostic, but I really like the phrase that we are co-creators with God,
Yes,
that
yes,
we have the ability to create with him
yes,
a beautiful life, which not perfect. We're going to have a, we're
yeah,
human. We're having a human experience, not a godlike experience.
yeah,
But like you said, we've got the ability to create something
yeah.
that will then affect other people, and that ripple effect goes forward.
Exactly. And if people can come to the understanding that God created us, and I'm sure lots of people understand that, and it's an energy. And what I like to do is bring it down to say, okay, you're a human being, you have children. Well, did you bring forward a frog? Did you bring forward a dog? Did you bring forward a cat? Or did you bring forward another human being like yourself? Because as I understand it, God made man in his own image. And therefore, the children you bring forward, yes, they're creeping and crawling, but you guide them to become an adult, and you hopefully want them to stand on their feet, and they can do as you can do. And well, knowing God is infinitesimal has got so much more. And okay, we're not that, but we are part of that extension, so we can do a lot.
Yeah, I mean, just think about you. I'm glad you brought it up. I was on a podcast once, and a woman said, "Do you believe in sort of supernatural ability?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, any woman who's had a baby, like you create, your body is so intelligent, obviously, at an unconscious level.
Yes.
Your body is so intelligent that it literally creates the most complex being in the universe that we know of.
Yes.
My mum used to ring me when I was pregnant with my son, and she'd say, "What are you doing?" And I'd say, "I'm working on a kidney." There's just this miraculous thing is happening inside of you. You're not directing it. You're grocery shopping, you're tidying up or whatever, but your body is intelligently creating no matter who you are. I don't care how poor you are. The most
we are who we are,
right. I don't care where you are. As a human being, as a female human being, you are born with this intelligence that can create a human being, and that is so miraculous and extraordinary. It happens every day. Let's go back to what is so simple and yet so impossible, and yet nobody gives it any mind. Nobody stops to say,
it's just one of those things.
It's one of those. I just created a fully formed, living, breathing human being, capable of consciousness and creating and changing the world and making skyscrapers and the internet, and yet we just like,
things.
Yeah.
Oh, Penelope, it's been wonderful, absolutely wonderful speaking to you. Now, can you just, apart from your books, do you do anything else? Do you do talks? Do you coach? Do you do retreats? What else?
Well, since podcasting's come along, I really like to, first of all, I write, and so the stuff that I write kind of lends me towards, I have obviously a strong point of view. And as podcasting's come along, I just enjoy conversations like this one. And and they're happening. You and I were saying technology is democratized. They're happening everywhere. Yes. And so rather than it being some big fancy staged, we all have to be cultivated and prepared. It's just two people sitting, talking.
And it's
I enjoy that. Yeah, I enjoy writing is solitary. You're doing it yourself, but then I enjoy this part of talking to people about it. And
and it's very important. And I like to say to people that, years ago, it was very difficult to talk about spirituality and say things. I know it was very difficult for me to even say I'm a spiritual coach. That spirituality was like, but now people, because of the era we're living in, and that inner voice is now raising up, and people are now listening, and that word spirituality is now making people realize it's not a woo-woo, it's actually something very important. And as I say, we're spiritual beings. We are energy, and everything is energy, and we're spiritual beings with a physical body having a human experience. So now we are communicating, we are thinking more, we are talking more, we're opening up our minds, we're searching. And to technology, it's so wonderful because it allows us to get hold of information. But the most important thing is, because you also have to be aware that you can get hold of information, but information can also be doctored to mislead you.
Yeah.
Remembering, as I say, we're begged to be blind, to be deaf, to be controlled. That information ultimately should make us stay and sit in our own quietness and connect to the Creator.
Yeah.
And we can ask anything and everything and get an answer, because I know I do. And
Yeah.
all that technology is just to help us to understand a bit more, but to sit in our own space and connect.
I love to hear you say that, because we have to be discerning. There was a famous religious teacher called Krishnamurti,
Mhm.
and he had a famous expression. He said, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. And what he meant was, don't give your power. Go to the spiritual teacher that will lead you inward,
Yes,
and not
yes,
teach you to worship outward.
outward. It is about, and our religions were supposed to do that. It was
Yes.
supposed to teach us that everything is within us, not for us to continue look outwards and look to somebody or to something and to put all our hopes into that. The knowledge was to for us to turn inwards, to realize we are part of that power and we can find everything within us.
Mm-hmm.
So Penelope, thank you very much. Could you just once more tell people the name of your book?
My book is The Angel Scroll, and if you can go to my website, penelopeholt.com. Excuse me, penelopeholt.com. It's easy. It's just my name.
Yes.
And I did some blogging, and then there's my latest book there. I wrote a kind of a fast romance too, because after I wrote The Angel Scroll, it was heavy on the research and everything. And I couldn't tackle another big project. So I thought, I'll write a little romance, see if I can write a romance novel. So I wrote a little romance book that came out in January. But yeah, my various books and blogs and stuff are on there if people are interested.
So to everybody's listening, go to Penelope's website. All her various books are there, and I'm sure if you put it on Amazon or whatever, and she's there, you can connect with her, read her book. But most of all, what are we all saying? Everything is within us. And this is what we're all saying. Don't matter what you're going through, what pain you're going through, what suffering, it's not okay, but you can handle it. You can handle it. The lessons, the voices, the tools are there in different ways, but everything lies within you. So Penelope, thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. Thank you for sharing your story. And I thank everybody who was listening to this podcast. And for now, thank you and goodbye.